So my name is Omar Rapazad. It is 2 p.m. November 17, 2019. So I posted some tweets doing some connecting the dots between the Russell Williams and Paul Bernardo's case because they both seem to have pedophilia as a common denominator, and they are both um, um, serial criminals, so rapists and torturers. The fact that they both went to UFT and people who are talking about these experimentations um, are very commonly known for being on university campuses. York University, Bethesda, Bernardo, UFT, the Scarborough campus, Russell Williams, again, the Scarborough campus. I went to UFT. So I'm suspecting that if experiments are being done by whatever party, and keep in mind, I'm not saying the military is doing this. The military, like all other organizations, are infiltrated and have all kinds of people in it. So I'm not anti-military by any means, or nor am I anti-cop, just to make that clear. Um, but there are groups of people in these organizations that take advantage of the technology that's available to them and the power. They abuse their power very, very much so. So, in order for crimes to take place, there's got to be power. There's got to be a legal cover for doing what they're doing. And there's got to be people in places that will provide the um, the logical explanations, the cover, basically. And these people have to be in all kinds of special positions of power. So providing cover for the crime is really abusing their power. So anyway, there is a lot of similarities between the two cases. There seemed to be a step-by-step programming process being done. Like any other professional, you need to be trained apparently to be a torturer, sadistic, um, a murderer, a rapist. You have to be trained to be sadistic, to become a torturer, to be a rapist, to cold bloodedly, without any emotional attachment or any empathy whatsoever, to commit these crimes, these heinous sexual crimes against innocent kids and women and men in some cases as well. So there is a common thread that seemed to flow between these crimes that was already prosecuted and people who are claiming to be experimented on. These are satanic ritual um, abuses because the crimes are so heinous and so evil and so diabolical in nature that it falls outside the scope of normal um, human behavior, even if the act is murder within normal human behavior. Um, Certain things are not done. An act of passion, somebody takes a knife and stab you in anger, or even if you're planning a revenge crime, there are certain things that will not be done. So there is special exposure to take the person beyond the realm of being a human being, and that is Satanism. There is a satanic infiltration in the positions of power, not only in Canada, but globally, internationally. And the acts are now committed remotely. because the technology is available. You know, I mean, what better way to commit these crimes than to do it remotely? Um, uh, because first of all, it's covered. Number one, number two, when you talk about remote rape and remote technologies, you're automatically told that you're mentally ill. And people just don't think along those lines. The technology is not that mainstream. It's getting there, but the technology is not known. Well, I should say it's not mainstream. It's known, but it's not filtered into our consciousness to the point where it's mainstream thinking. It's getting there, but it's slowing. It's a slow process, and by that time, a lot of people are going to be, you know, killed, basically, raped, tortured, murdered, and murdered. Kids, especially. So anyway, this is what I was tweeting about. I also tweeted some entries yesterday about being surveilled in the building. I am flagged from what being harassed about. I'm being reported on constantly. The cops are being called constantly. Yesterday, I was working on the lock, a new lock that I have that I was programming. And as soon as I walked out, my microwave detector alarm went off, and I got this burning sensations on my chest, left side, basically, and at a very high level. And when I scanned myself, it was over 2,000 volts per meter, so very high power. So this is triggered every time I walk out of the unit. And as soon as that happened, and I step out, um, people close by makes comment loudly that things like, "We have lots of licks for you. You're a target. Relax," and so on. So as soon as you step out, you're basically starting the process of being abused. So in other words, the idea is to stay. There is discouragement to go out, because really what it is, it's false imprisonment. So I was scanning the door to tweet about what I was doing, and I just accidentally caught the walking back and forth. It was one time, but actually that was the third time that that person did it. So the first time I was inside of my unit, and I didn't actually see her, but I heard her. I heard the child, and on the way to the elevator, and the child was talking. Um, then I heard her come back. She was at the elevator for a few seconds, and she came back, went into her place, and so I was just documenting um, my programming of the door, um, for to keep, just in case I forget my codes. Um, I wasn't recording the codes; I was just recording clues to the code. And I just happened to catch the third walking back. She was obviously monitoring what I was doing. Obviously, so that is just one of the many, 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 many examples of being stalked in the building. People who live in that unit before, historically, also were infiltrated and subcontracted and did exactly the same thing. When I went to the cops complaining that these were Muslim people and they had, older boys, close to 20, and they would follow me back and forth. When I get out of the unit, go to the elevator, they would follow me. When I reported to the cops almost sectioned me. So that unit is used, the occupants of that unit, because it's just opposite my door to the side, is used to surveil me, to monitor me. And I suspect that previously, historically, I'm not quite sure what's going on right now, but historically, the person living in that unit was subcontracting from the person who had the contract with the cops, and was harassing me, constantly harassing me. There were about three kids, teenage kids, and they were constantly harassing me. They were bumping balls off my door. They were pulling, I suspect they were pulling the fire alarm and saying I did it. They were using the corridor when visitors came as a playground, screaming, yelling, running back and forth. And some of it was blamed for, I was blamed for some of the noise that was being generated by these people. Again, being framed, set up, being depicted as mentally ill, which I'm not. I am being harassed. I am a target, which means that these things can be done. When I tell the cops will not take me seriously. But when they tell the cops, it's going to be used against me because I am a target. I am being experimented with. I suspect that Paul Bernardo's victims that we did not hear about when he was escalating to the point where he got charged. We didn't hear about these people. I suspect that these people were stalked. They were probably being stalked by a ring of people. I don't believe Paul Bernardo acted alone, just like I don't believe Russell Williams acted alone. The people who were being victimized by this group of people were most likely installed via satellite or chipped, but somehow satellite tracked and imaged inside of their home. Or else, how would Russell Williams know when the people, the women, were not at home or when they were in, for him to break into the home and hide and wait for them? And he did this with young mothers. I heard there was one instance where there was a young mother with a newborn baby, and he went into the home and he assaulted her. So apparently his tastes were with babies. He had a taste for babies as well. Maybe he liked looking at mothers when they were nursing. Who knows? But these things are, I mean, the details, all of the details were not released. They were so horrendous that they were covered up. Well, I should say covered up, but they were not released. All of the details were not released to the public, just like Bernardo's case, because they were satanic in nature. The public mind will be so traumatized by some of these things that it was not released. One of the reasons I think that it was not released. The other one was to keep it quiet. High powered people in high powered places doing evil things and getting away with it. It's about time women stood up and talked about it openly without fear to protect not only themselves, but protect their children. And boys, not only girls, boys as well. And men should do the same because they're also getting victimized. Talk to you another time.